Hello, this reading is for Natasha. Thank you so much for being part of this page and trusting me with your information for this reading. I am so excited because just looking at your chart has sparked all kind of curiosity in myself, and what perfect timing since we have all these planets in Gemini right now. So I am calling on my higher self to find clarity and give you as much insight into your chart as I can. So I like to start with the big three. This way we can look at what is most accessible to your personality, the three areas that you are actively engaging with most of the time. So for you, you have a Scorpio rising and a Capricorn sun and an Aries moon that makes up the big three. When we look at a Scorpio rising, we're looking at someone who is going into new experiences and presenting themselves in new experiences, of someone of an emotionally deep person. And that means not that you're overly emotional, but that when you're in new situations, you're going to feel the situation out first. You're going to be quicker to check the vibes of a situation. Does this feel right? Does it feel authentic to who I am? Am I going to be able to portray myself in the way that is truly me? You feel out, you get all your feelers out there. And then there's a pause of examining the situation, being the observer, and then acting accordingly. With the Scorpio fixed sign, usually the nature is going to be someone who is the same in different situations. You're not one who's going to really mask yourself too much or try to socially lubricate others. You're going to have more of an observer feel and more of a reluctance to engage if it doesn't feel true, like a energy in which you can really be yourself. So you'd rather retreat into yourself than risk being inauthentic to who you really are in new situations. Sometimes that energy can make people think that this placement is kind of shy or reserved, but that's really not true, because when your feelers go out and the situation feels like an energy that is true to who you are, then you can be full of energy and the center of attention. So it really depends not on the other people of what you think you should be, but how every environment presents itself to you on this psychic level, of what level of yourself can you still be authentic with, because that's important to you to be true to yourself in new situations. You don't want to be superficial. You don't want to be driving home from a party thinking that you weren't true to yourself, or that you sacrificed any of your own personal values or beliefs just to make other people feel more comfortable. If it is a situation that really feels like it's true to your energy and your nature, then you can be very welcoming and friendly and give off this energy that is almost like a magnet to the right type of people that need your energy. And it can be the type of energy that lets other people feel like they can have this new level of conversation or energy exchange. There's this depth to your encounters with the people that match your energy, that you can feel like you've known someone for a very long time in a first meeting, because you can feel their energy is the same as yours. And then it can really turn into this joyful encounter, and these emotions can come freely between you and other people, and which is all true to who you are. There's many layers there. But with the ascendant, those are kind of what's at stake for you to be in these situations. You could get many different varieties of you, but it depends on what you psychically feel the energy is, because you will not be someone else that you are not. That is a fixed energy and a water energy. When we move to your sun sign, we're going to see now that the element and the modality has changed. So once someone really gets to know you, or how your good friends would probably describe you, or your co-workers, people who are in your presence a lot, right? Like they're standing in the light of your sun, so they get to see a certain side of you that you would probably call your consciousness. They see someone in this earth cardinal energy of someone who's really capable and grounded. And people would probably describe you as having like this really good head on your shoulders. You're somebody that isn't just going to do something without thinking it through first. So it's the majority of your consciousness is asking itself, is this logical? Is it reasonable? Is it attainable? Is it worth my energy? Am I coming into a new idea with this cardinal energy that I really can take the lead on and see it through? Is it in this Capricorn energy? Is my skill set where it needs to be to tackle this? Do I need to plan steps to achieve my goals and commit to this? There is this methodical side of you that will play the tape forward of things before you really give your blessing or signature to it. You're not going to be someone who's just kind of swept away into someone's idea. It needs to be something that you've given your energy to deciding for yourself. And then conversely, if other people don't agree with it, then after you've really thought something through, that's not really important to you if people agree or don't agree. If you have decided, if you've run it through yourself, and it's something that you think is attainable, makes sense, has a good outcome potential, you are confident in your own nature to get going on it, see it through, switch gears. The Capricorn and is a cardinal sign because it's not only the master of its skill, but it's the trailblazer of its own right. It's not waiting for a committee of approvals to do things, but it does pause a little bit longer. It's not the first one to run in the race, but sometimes it's the one that gets to the finish line first. So then moving on to your moon sign, now we're moving to fire and cardinal. So for your big three, you have three different elements going on here, which is worth mentioning because we can think of what those, we can visualize what these elements are. And it can kind of give us a feel for the motivations here. So you've got the water, the earth, and now the fire. So when we get to the fire side, it's kind of speaking a different language than the other two. The yin energy of the water and the earth that come to a internal agreement here. Now your subconscious level, or the part that's really private to yourself, who other people don't always get to see, but yet it comes out as your knee-jerk reaction. The moon ever changing in what it wants and when it wants to show more of itself or not. It's this fire energy of just sudden inspirations and eruptions of emotions, right? Because our subconscious moon is our emotional nature, where we go for emotional security. How we intimately relate to other people who are that close to us. They relate this to the mother because a mother and her child is the most intimate relationship most of us experience. It could also be the most intimate self. You, the unspoken self, where other people may never even get to see. But yet, the knee jerk reaction, if somebody does something to you suddenly and you can't think about it and you react, that's your moon also. So it's in there ready to go. but it's not always in the light for us to really acknowledge it or have control over it. So in the side of Aries, this is important because Aries doesn't always love hiding. It wants to go to war over anything. So you have this fire Aries battle energy in your subconscious, which is going to play out interestingly in a Capricorn sun. So when I look at the motivations here, I see somebody who has a lot of internal inspiration and intuition. So when we look at your Capricorn sun, we think of someone who's logical and isn't quick to do things until they're sure about it. But then this Aries moon actually cuts down the time that it takes you to come to these realizations because that Aries moon is full of intuition and it's a yang energy of action. So it's going to move Capricorn a little bit closer to the edge. You know, it's not sitting so comfortably anymore where it's just totally in control. This, you know, patriarchal figure of reason and law and order. Now, Aries in your emotional state lights it on fire. So you're always going to be a little bit more quick to listen to your intuition, and you're going to be a little bit more quick to show your cards to other people than your typical Capricorn. They're going to upset you and they're going to know probably a lot faster than your typical Capricorn. You might be quick to stand up for yourself, where other Capricorns might think it through. Is that what I want to do? You might have this, especially with the Scorpio ascendant, you might be quick to not be pushed around. And you probably have a couple good comebacks when someone says something to you the wrong way. If you're really internally inspired by something, you might just trust your inner voice a little bit more and do it and not pause. On the whole, you might just be somebody, you know, putting all these big threes together. Sometimes this can give you a intense perspective on things because you have a lot of capability in yourself. It's like a very strong independent vibe, where we'll get into more about your chart here in a minute. And every human craves companionship, but your big three leads to somebody who has a very independent drive. You don't really need a lot of people's approval. You already have this really loud emotional voice in yourself telling you to act. And you really only are interested in situations that are going to feel right to you before you really let yourself go into your real true self. And so all of those three things give somebody this this autonomy that other people don't have. You're able to make decisions, trust, and take action without any other people's influence. So there's good and bad to that, but that is the vibe of the independent thinker, doer, and feeler. So the big three now we're going to move away from, and we're going to move into the little three, which is your Venus, Mercury, and Mars planets. So these are the last of our personal planets that help influence our personality. I said Venus first, but I like to start with Mercury because it's usually not far from the sun. So if the sun is our ego, then Mercury is what we think about, what we talk about, how we voice that ego out into the world. So Mercury for you is in Capricorn, and I'm trying not to talk about that huge stellium yet because I really want to do each planet its own thing first. So we'll come back to the mega Capricorn influence in your chart. But Mercury in Capricorn is a gift to you because it's the same sign as your sun sign. So there's like this collective agreement between the planets there that who you are is what you're speaking. And it's interesting to me because with that Scorpio rising, I would have definitely thought that to be true because it wouldn't make sense, and everything happens for a reason in astrology, I believe, that it wouldn't make sense for your Mercury not to be in the same sign as your sun because look at your rising sign is only going to let you speak what you really think is true. So, how could they be in two different signs? You're somebody who talks the talk and walks the walk. Like what you're talking about is who you are, and what you do is going to follow what you said you were going to do. There's this thoroughness about you that Mercury is gifting you here because that is your sun. So, although, you know, um, Mercury can be in more favorable signs, it is actually good for you to have it in the sign of Capricorn because your sun is. So people who you talk to, plan things with, socialize with, they know that you're not full of it. Like you're actually saying what is meaningful to you. And you probably have this authoritative kind of voice about you because that is the Capricorn vibe to speak on things they know and they know well, so that it almost comes off like even if you're not in a position of leadership, you might have that little air about you that people just kind of think you know what you're talking about and they might ask you questions or come to you with problems and you're, the problem solver for your friends. And people trust that if you don't think it's a good idea, then it's not. Like I said before, the good head on your shoulders vibe here is strong with those two in Capricorn. So moving on to Venus, which is also in Capricorn, you're going to be a well, let's talk about what Venus is. Venus is our discerning love, right? So it's not our unconditional love. Unconditional love is more like our Neptune sign. Our Venus is what we like because we know what we do not like. So it's a taste preference. It's Venus is the goddess of love and aesthetic taste, music, arts, finding beauty in things like nature and peace. So when we think of it as our planet of love, it just is how you present yourself when you're in love. This is the language that you're speaking. So in the second house, Venus is really happy there because that is a Taurus house traditionally, and Venus is a ruler of Taurus. So it gives you this eye and this taste for wanting to be around the more simple pleasures. And when we think of simple pleasures, we usually think of like what nature has to offer. So you might find yourself that you really enjoy being out in nature of any kind, especially with the earth sign. You would say anytime you can get grounded, you can find peace and joy if you're in a relationship or looking for one that can bring out this romantic tendency in you. And once you feel comfortable and at a romantic level, then you're able to initiate things. You're not afraid to act in love if you are with someone and they have checked all your boxes because Capricorn doesn't like to settle. It wants what's best and it knows what it wants at best. So sometimes it can take a Venus Capricorn longer to fall in love because they have a lot of boxes that need to be checked. They are the master and they want to make sure that their mate is someone who is also highly achieving in their own respect. That doesn't always mean in career, but on some level, they have practice, persistence, and it shows somewhere that they're dedicated to whatever their calling is in life and to themselves. So maybe like physical fitness is important to you when you're looking for a partner. They have that self discipline that Capricorn really finds attractive, or they're really good like with their hands of like building things. You think earth sign, these Capricorn Venus people sometimes find it arousing for like a carpenter or a potter or a gardener or a masonry worker or seeing someone for Habitat for Humanity building homes. I don't know if you have that in Canada, but something like that where they're really showing their physical strength and they're building something of importance and structure for others. The earth sign in general is all about bringing ideas into actual existence. So when we think of homes, neighborhoods, gardens, roads, everything that we have here, we think the earth signs because maybe they didn't design it, but they built it. And that's why we actually have it. It's our tangible self. And I speak on that because of your second house is so full. That is also the same energy. You're very attracted and motivated by people who don't have maybe these great, they don't have to be the smartest person, but they did something that they said they were going to do. They actually brought it into existence. And that's important to you. So once you have achieved that, trust in them that they actually are a solid person, then you go ahead and you can pursue them. You're not always super traditional about being like the super feminine version. You're thoughtful and can be um, intuitive about the relationship and try to feel like you're very considerate of their feelings. But you're okay making moves on somebody, usually, if you're feeling confident in yourself. We'll get back to that too. But the Venus Capricorn person, once they realize someone is what they want, they will go for it because Capricorn's not settling. So if they found somebody worthy, they're going to go for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if that brought out a different side of you, that ambition of this Capricorn energy that is sometimes surprising because it can be a little bit more pushy than they're comfortable with sometimes. But it serves them well because that ambition usually helps them seal the deal on relationships that sometimes just need a leader, need somebody to be the leader. And Capricorn was born to do that. So you might surprise yourself in love with that. Okay, so that brings us to Mars. Mars is on your descendant, interestingly enough. So it's a pretty tight conjunction there. So I would say that is important. And Mars is important, anyways, right? Because that's where we decide, how forceful or ambitious am I going to be? What am I willing to fight for? Who am I willing to fight to get it? And where am I likely to see these ambitious, directive, forceful energy? For you, it's in your relationships. So it's interesting because your Mars, rules Aries, which is your moon, which is a very personally intimate relationship sign. And then you have it on your descendant too. And like I said, nothing happens in accident by astrology. So look at you, this strong, independent woman who, not saying that in a you throw your weight around kind of way, you can be, it's almost like a stoic strength energy sometimes with Scorpio and Capricorn. But then you have this energy inside of you, this personal, deeply personal energy, Mars and the moon. And they're in these relationships. So to me, that means that people that you meet, you're not going to be able to help, but want to involve with because you can't have all this super independent energy and like be in relationships like you would do well on your own. But no, not you. Your soul wanted to be in a relationship and it's willing to fight for that. And it's willing to see things through. Taurus on the descendant and Mars energy is also a fixed sign. So while you're unwilling in ascendant life to not be who you are, on your descendant side, on the other side, you're going to find somebody who also matches that in you and is willing to see through good and bad with you and not go anywhere. So Taurus isn't going anywhere. Taurus is a fixed energy. You're going to find somebody who isn't afraid of an argument, who isn't going to abandon the relationship because they're uncomfortable. They're, they're digging deep in their own feelings too, but they're not going to go anywhere because it's not the same as yours. So a Scorpio rising person can be very psychological. You can live in your head a lot. You can have these irrational feelings where doom and gloom can take over you. It comes and goes. That's kind of just the way Scorpio is. It attacks itself first. It's, you think of the scorpion with the tail of poison, and it's sometimes on its curling on itself because you can be all in your head and really hurt yourself when no one else is. And it's important to say because you're looking for this Taurus energy person to help you get out of your head and into reality. And it's somebody that lights you up enough to get your attention to pull you out of that. Like this Mars person, they might be stubborn and annoying and ready to argue with you over things that like get you heated more than you want. But see how it pulls you out of your head and it forces that connection, even if it's not always a pleasant one. It forces you to communicate and act and take a stand and get into their face and get out of yourself. That's the energy you're looking for on this quest of life of yours. On the other side of your rising is the journey you're taking to feel something different. And that's where your Mars is. So it's going to pull you into somebody who makes you leave your head and take real action. And that's great because that's what you need with this energy in your chart. You need to be forced to connect to other people, and you need to be forced to take action and then feel alive because of it, because this Mars is going to wake up your Aries moon in the most passionate way. And that's your sex drive too. So when you find someone like this, and you really connect in a partnership, you feel equal with someone, you've got the Venus happy because they meet your standards, then your Aries moon can be happy because this person sparks your passion. And that takes two people to do. You cannot do that by yourself. And this person brings that out in you. You want to fight them, but you want to make love to them. It's all those feelings that Aries wants to experience. And it's really powerful and special for you. Whereas Taurus isn't always the happiest spot for Mars, it is still significant in a positive way because it's on your descendant, where I think the balance, the push and pull of aggression versus passion is important in your chart, where otherwise sometimes there could be that stronger pull to be introverted or isolated into the psychological prison. I say that because of your Pluto in the 12th house, and you need someone to help pull you out of that sometimes. And that's what this person's doing for you. Could be a lover, I say, because Mars, that's usually sex drive, passion, fighting. Who do we fight with the most? For me, it's my husband. Like, it just usually is the person you're around the most. And in the 7th house, we usually attribute that to partner. 7th house can also mean open enemies. So sometimes it can make a situation where you might have like unintentionally had people mad at you or wanted to fight with you or something throughout life, or maybe you get in more like instances with people that are aggressive than you would really like think is normal. Maybe like in work or life, you just have like aggressive people around, and it's that 7th house. It's the universe bringing these opportunities for you to own your Mars, or someone else will own it for you and project. Right? That's the house of projection. So if you're not taking a stand, if you're not making your Aries moon happy, you're not giving it enough release here, right? You don't want it on a tight leash. You want to let it go sometimes. If that doesn't happen, then you might find Mars in your life. So that's how you know. If you're owning your Mars yourself, if you're being direct, blunt even, really not letting people push you around, then you are Mars. So you will have that and you will be your own powerhouse. But if you're not doing that, then you're going to run into people who are going to show you what Mars energy does. So that could be potential bullies or abusive people in general, partners who are abusive, not always physically, sometimes emotionally, sometimes just outburst people, all these people. That will show you how Mars works, and it's going to be more intense because that's how the universe teaches us lessons. Until you finally had enough, own your own Mars, push them away, and now no one else can do that for you. Lesson learned, and you get to enjoy all the perks of owning your Mars. So hopefully you've reached that in life already. It's kind of an ongoing theme because nothing is just learned right away and you check it off and you move on. It's kind of things that we have to build towards. But that's your personality big six ones. It's important to go over those so you can kind of see where different ideas come from, how to play things together to paint this picture of what part of your consciousness is really working right now. Once you know that, you can kind of find balance within yourself. From there, I want to move on to Jupiter, which is in your ninth house of Leo. And this is, also just mentioned to say, you're in a bi-wheel right now because sometimes I use this for transit readings. Both of those rings are the same thing. So you probably have picked up on that now. But I'll send you a sheet that is just your wheel, and then it'll have some definitions of things too, of what the symbols mean. But this one looks weird because I put two rings around readings most times, but this is just you and you. I hope that wasn't confusing. Sorry, I didn't start with that. But anyways, so your Jupiter's in Leo and it's in the ninth house. Jupiter loves the ninth house. That's where Jupiter rules. So it can bring blessings in the departments of being a really gifted student, of higher knowledge, or just having this desire to question things, ask big questions, and be kind of fearless in your quest to learn what you want to learn about. You're not somebody who likes being told no a lot. You're going to be somebody who wants to have the freedom to explore whatever it is you want to explore, be it philosophies or other cultures or traveling. You're going to need freedom, and it's going to set you alive in the sign of Leo. Passion, romance, celebrating life is really important to Leo energy. Sometimes people say that if you have a busy fifth house or a lot of Leo placements, that you were somehow restricted in like joy of being alive. And so with that in Jupiter, it makes me think that Jupiter is bigger, it wants more. So it gives Leo a little bit more power here. So whatever you're doing in life or whatever your history is, Jupiter is an outer planet that's going to try to give you opportunities to really find the joy that there is in being free, in exploring what you want to explore. So take advantage of that because that's where you're just naturally going to be blessed. So if there is something like, let's say you were thinking about going back to school to do something like on a collegiate level or something, you probably find luck in that. You probably get into the school. You probably find a way to get the money. You probably get it accepted and on the first one you wanted to go to. Or if you were really interested in getting your voice out there into the world to connect with other people some way, you probably could. Publishing is the ninth house, as well as Leo is the creator. So it's just all this creative energy on a large, higher scale. So you're into philosophy, or if there's something that you do that you're really talented in that you want to learn more about or project out, then this is the kind of calling that is coming towards you. And it's something that really makes you feel alive and feel good. And the universe wants you to do that. It wants you to be happy, to be alive, and not ignore where you have this innate blessing. So when we talk about blessings, we have to talk about the opposite, the restrictor, which brings us to Saturn. lessons learned. Saturn's very important to you as a Capricorn sun. That is the rulership. You always are going to have this sense of responsibility and this internal knowing of what's right and what's wrong. It's the planet of law and order, of self-discipline, of making us understand that we're not here forever. So we need to take this seriously. You know, when we talk about Saturn returns and things like that, it's because Saturn is telling us time is limited. What are you actually supposed to be doing? What have you not done yet? Are you taking the right steps to do this? Do I need to take something away to make you focus more on what you need to learn? So it's kind of like Daddy Saturn. It's always like keeping us in line, focused, you know, Saturn's coming around, look busy kind of stuff. So in your chart, you have a Capricorn Saturn, which is great because that's where Saturn wants to be. When it's in other signs, the message gets murky, but when it's already in Capricorn and your sun is in Capricorn, you already speak the same language. So it's like this karmic kind of lesson your whole life about things, right? So what is the message here? Well, for you in your second house, it's usually about values and self-esteem, respecting your own authority. So this will bring us to your whole stellium here, your second house stellium, all in Capricorn. So you are getting slammed this lifetime with lessons of building your own foundation, of your own self-worth, and gaining all of this energy because of it. So any sign in the second house is something that means a lot to you. So this lets me know that you're a person of great like contemplation, and there's just a lot of levels to you on the inside. So I feel like your roots go very deep in your personality, and you don't take things super lightly. Things mean a lot to you, and how you feel about things matter to you on deep levels where you want to know how you feel. You want to take a stand on certain things. And what's tricky about the second house is it's not always apparent early on in life, because the second house is things that we want and we think is important and we hold value to it. So look at this. You have everything in there, basically. I mean, you have all of these personal planets, but all of these outer planets, and your North Node is in there too. So to me, this tells me of somebody who either for some reason had people overbearing to them and you weren't allowed to make a lot of choices, or you were force fed some kind of dogma or information of how to live early on in life, or you completely had nothing, no direction, and you were left at the mercy of just society to deal with who you are, sometimes washing away foundations and building them and washing them away. But you've always desired to be someone who stands for something. And when we go through life now, you're going to try to obtain all of these things. So with your son, you're going to really focus on being a person who knows who they are. You're going to spend time trying to get to know yourself. And that can be a whole quest in itself. But you're also trying to figure out what you love, what your taste is, what you don't love, how to love yourself. That's all Venus. Second house Venus. Happy in the second house, but there's something about the Venus and your Capricorn and your whole stellium that says, I need to work on really loving myself. Like this Saturn, Venus, Sun, all these things in the second house can be someone who suffers from low self-esteem. Sometimes it's because something happened, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you can think highly of yourself, but you don't take the action to show yourself the self-love. It's having a complex where you put other people first too much to take care of them. Sometimes that moon in the fourth house can be about changing homes so much, or people coming in and out of your life so much that you were never really able to feel grounded in youth to build these characteristics that you so highly want and admire. So it takes a longer journey for you than some people who just have this like through and through confidence. And sometimes you don't have that because the Capricorn energy is something that has to build. And it takes a lifetime to build because Capricorn is the goat that climbs up the mountain step by step. It never gets there fast. It wants to turn every stone and make sure they really understand. You really want to spend time understanding who you are and of your own doing. So it's this house of everything that you have tangibly too, you know, money, shelter, security, financial control, all of these things that are important to you that show you that you are worthy of having security. But then it's this internal, I need to know that I'm worthy of being here, of being an equal partner, of being a person who is loved and achieving and regarded as a high authority in your own life. All of these things either were taken from you early, were never given enough time to build, or there was some kind of trauma. You have an aspect here beyond this wild stellium. You have a Chiron opposing your Saturn opposition here. Sometimes that can mean that you had a really hard interaction with an authority figure that didn't end well for you. You were some kind of victim of something. Doesn't always mean physically, emotionally, mentally. It could have just been a really strict parent, an absence completely of a parent that you had to learn a relationship. You had to learn without a healthy relationship from an authority figure. So you were wounded in the process because you never had the role model that you needed to feel secure in yourself. Sometimes that can go either way, by too much or too little, ever changing. Doesn't even have to be a parent. It could be through life processes of interactions with people, because Saturn's an outer planet. For some reason, you need to learn this lesson of healing from, you know, disappointments, letdowns, overbearingness of authority figures to come into your own sense of who you are and letting go of other people's, you know, whatever their power is over you. And this is so important because now we'll move into the nodes, is that your north node and your south node are telling the same story. So when we look at the nodes, we look at the sign and the house. So your south node's in the eighth house. So you're releasing, you've already mastered merging your resources and your intimacy level with somebody else. You've already given someone else your power, either in this life or a past life. Nodes usually refer to like a past life experience of the south node. You come in with that. You're already an expert at really unconditionally loving people. That's the Cancer sign. So you might have like been I don't know, like a Romeo and Juliet situation with a lover. You were willing to give everything in your life and everything for this deeply intimate relationship because you could see no wrong in this other person. Or in the sign of Cancer, it could be a mother. You know, you gave your life and your everything for your children. And that's what you're drawn to doing in this life because you're so good at it. But what your North Node is saying is actually, no, that's all great. And I'm really the master of that. And that's wonderful. But I want to grow into this Capricorn energy. And it makes me think that you might not always identify with this Capricorn energy, even though it's this huge stellium for you, but it's your North Node. So it's where you're growing into, where what you're trying to master in this lifetime. So you might not feel that way right away, because it's a new experience. You're having all this help. Uranus and Neptune are in your second house as well. So your sudden inspirations, the spontaneous changes in your life that you have no control over, that's Uranus. It's in Capricorn in your second house too. So it's going to change things up for you to give you opportunities to work towards that energy, but it does it in a menacing way sometimes that can shake your stability. So you think you've got something handled, and then it comes through and wipes it out and says, no, you were going to try again. We're going to get on course or off course just to see how you rebuild. You know, we're going to bring in some rebellion into this. Maybe you need to challenge something to get what's yours. Second house, North Node wants you to really come into your own ways. And it doesn't matter what you inherited, what your husband or partner can do for you, what the legacy of your history is, of your family line, what kind of thing you were born into class and society. It's saying, regardless of all that, you actually wanted to come here to have a clean slate of who you are and what you're known, what you've built for yourself, what your legacy is because of you on a esteem level and on a tangible level, on a I did this myself level. I did this because of my own effort. I did this despite of other people trying to knock me down. And I'm here better than ever. And I have this full understanding of who I am not, and what I'm going to master here. And it looks like it's to your great benefit. Look at all the support you have. You have Neptune here too. So that's our creativity, our compassionate side. Sometimes it can be, you know, illusions. Maybe you thought you would be in a different situation at different points, and your bubble got bursted because it wasn't actually what you had dreamed it would be. This Neptune Capricorn generation sometimes is left wanting more because they got gypped on something, and they were, you know, kind of taught the hard knocks a couple of times instead of getting this like fairy tale life that they read about or somebody else had. So it's some hard lessons in there. Capricorn's not always soft and easy. It's kind of cold and sudden, and, you know, Saturn rules that. So, but that's okay because you chose this, is my belief. You choose your chart somewhere you didn't want soft and easy. You wanted real and thorough and lasting results that you could really be proud of and stand on. So that's where you're going. That's the node of the chart here. And I think that's where I'll end. I'm pretty sure I covered everything I wanted to. If you have any other questions of any aspects that jump out to you, let me know. Those were the ones I really wanted to cover. And I got through most of, or I guess all of your signs here. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, I know that's a lot of information. After a while, you can't really hold on to any more anyway. So this is a good stopping place. Thanks so much for being here on the page. I really appreciate your support. Okay, talk soon.